Welcome back. Today, we're talking about water tighting an RV roof. In other words, we are going to take our time and go through this thing and prevent us from ever having to caulk a vent again. And if you're an RV tech, I pray that you watch this video because hopefully there's some good things in here that you can pick up on to help take care of your customer. I've been in the commercial roofing business for 30 years. When I bought my first RV, I went up on the roof. I scratched my head, not understanding why they do things the way they do and why we're using these Proflexes, these Rudies, they're all lap sealants. Why are we using these lap sealants to waterproof these roof vents? Because really, that's just temporary. If you don't keep caulking them, they will fail. You will get what I have right here. And this is wrong on a 4-year-old unit. This should not be. But even at that, if we flash the vents properly according to the manufacturer specifications, not the dealer specifications, you end up with a better product. And literally, we're talking about $200 or $300 on a complete RV difference in cost to make sure that roof does not fail. If we had these issues on a commercial roof, we would be in court by the building owner because it's just poor workmanship. I don't understand, and I'm not blaming the RV techs as much as I am blaming the manufacturers, because I don't understand who is teaching these manufacturers how to do these roofs. I get the fact that they took the TPO and EPDM and decided to make it 30% lighter for the RV. That means it's 30% thinner from what it originally was. Which means if you go to county parks, you go to state parks, if you go boondocking in the woods with this thing and you're brushing along tree limbs when you look out the window, you very well could be popping holes in your roof and you don't even know it. Because the product is so thin, and it's going to happen right here like you see in mine. Now, here's one little hole. But all the way down the side of my RV on the passenger side looked like Morse code with these little holes from the previous owner. Thank goodness I caught that right away, so I was able to repair it. We're going to be talking about using 6-inch uncured, 6-inch cured if it's EPDM. If it's TPO, you're going to have, they now make a 6-inch and uncured and cured for that as well. So all of these products are available for most of the roofs. If it's PVC, I don't even mess with that anymore. This is where we're going to say use eternabond. I know most RV techs just cringe when I start talking about this because they're thinking about in the future of having to come and do a vent replacement. Well, here's one that put on with eternabond because at the time it was that was a TPO on this RV of mine, and obviously you can't glue EPDM to it. So this was the solution. That lasted for years. The vent finally broke and I never had a leak. So it does in fact work when it's installed correctly. And it is a little more time consuming to clean up and to remove to replace a roof vent. But I'd rather see somebody charge me a little bit more and then put the same stuff back on because then I don't have to run up all the time in caulk. The consumer today needs to get smarter than the manufacturers. And hopefully this video will definitely help many, many people. And after this video, you're going to know how to do this yourself. So let's get into this and start the water tighting process. And RV techs, incidentally, if you can explain to me why we're doing things the way we're doing with lap sealants, I would really appreciate it. Tell me down below. If you're getting value out of this video and you find it helpful, please smack that like button. If I did something you don't like, hit the other button, dislike it. But at least gives me signs of what I need to do to improve on these things. So let's go ahead and hit it. Let's do this thing. Welcome to Let's DIY My Home, where like-minded people are working together to tackle their project. Everything from a complicated remodel to as simple as repairing a door. That's DIYMyHome.com. We'll see you there. Whether we're talking about doing a repair along the edge, okay, on this side of the gutter, on this side of the RV, we have what they call a rain gutter. Let's do some education on some basic parts to this RV, because the waterproofing that we're about to do um, is going to be this identical for everything. Okay, but we need to understand what these parts are and why they are used. You have a rain gutter on the side, really, on each side of the RV. I don't know. I guess it's a neat idea they came up with the rain gutter, because if it's a drizzly day, the water should just run off the RV and not down the side and leaving streak marks. So that's kind of cool. I like that idea. But they are actually really not rain gutters. Those are what we call termination bars. The purpose of the termination bar is to prevent the EPDM, TPO, or your roof from shrinking and pulling up and pulling away from the edges. That is its purpose. Okay? Them using this little plastic strip and calling that watertight and a little bead of lap sealant across the top, or silicone, or whatever, butyl tape that I see that they stick on the bottom side of that bar, is a joke. Okay? We're going to make it 10 times better than what it is right now. Rather, it's on the front cap. Maybe you had an issue with your roof ballooning. We're not, incidentally, 90% of the RV manufacturers telling you need a new roof is a bunch of BS, or RV techs. It's a bunch of BS. You can slice it, you can fold it back, reglue it reglue the roof material and reglue the deck, and then roll it back into place, and then seam tape it, and it's as good as day one. There's no reason to be replacing roofs, especially when they're only a few years old, and the RV manufacturer really is the one that screwed it up by not gluing it properly. On the front of the RV, by your caps, a lot of my Montana here, I had a double termination bar. Some manufacturer RV techs out here, and you know who you are, that is starting it. I saw some young lady, a wonderful young lady, does a beautiful job on the RV. They started putting their EPDM on top of the cap and then doing a turn bar over it and then putting lap sealing over it. That is also a horrible, horrible idea. And here is why. And I hope all of you RV techs and remodelers that are seeing these videos quit doing them that way. Because the end result is, let's just say you did not use the flashing and do it as I'm going to teach you here, and you did use the lap sealant. As you can see here, I am rubbing that lap sealing off with my thumb. That means it really is not bonded to the fiberglass cap. Therefore, over time, if moisture starts to break through the bottom side of that lap sealant, water block, whatever you wish to call it, it is now going up under the rubber. I am going to start with taking out a roof vent. I'm going to use the bathroom vent as an example, because many of the RV bathroom vents have this type of vent in them, which really is a piece of crap. And I so wish that they would eliminate them things and put a real fan in. You put a max fan in, you put a fantastic fan in the main living area, but the bathroom, no, we don't do that. We put these cheap fans in. So if this is a roof vent you want to change, and you're going to do the recaulking or reflashing and every time thing, this is the time to do it. So I'm going to start talking about this vent right here in my bathroom. The first thing I'm going to do, since I want to replace it, is I'm going to come to the inside, remove the 4 screws that are holding on the beauty ring. That's what I call this plastic piece, is a beauty ring. Once you drop that, you can see in your attic, and you can see the wires right there. Not a big deal. Just makes it easier for reinstalling the new vent if you purchase one. If you want a max fan or any of those, I will have links down below. All these products that I talk about will be links down below. If you chose to purchase one of them, thank you, because it is helping support this channel, and it helps it make it much easier for me to make these videos. We got that apart, so then we're going to go up top, and we're going to use a tool like this. I don't want anybody using paint scrapers or wonder bars and pry bars to clean the caulking off when you don't know what you're doing. That's what these tools are used for. And they make fantastic scrapers. You can get the bigger one, and I'll put a link for that down here too. But use this because you're less likely to poke a hole in the roof. And in the process of cleaning up around the rim of this vent you see here, you will see these little tabs. If you have a hooded cover on it and you snap that off, you pull the pins and you take that thing off of there, you're going to be shocked what I'm about to tell you. That means you've got a max fan in there or one that has these. We're going to eliminate those. I know you're going to get to put your vent back on, I promise you, but we're going to do it differently. See, the problem with this is you can see that little slot right there where the pin goes through. That also goes right down to the deck. That means if water goes in there and we have an issue in here, that's a potential leak spot. That was a horrible idea. They should have made that a little bit different, and then it would have been fine. That bottom should be sealed so water can't get underneath the vent, and they're not. So if you have a Dremel tool or you have maybe one of these tools here, you can take and cut that off and sand that down. If you have one of the old style vents and you want to just replace your old fart fan that they use in there, pull all the screws. At that point, if the process of cleaning off all the lap sealing around there and you take that plastic and you accidentally poked a hole in the rubber roof along the edge somewhere, don't worry about it. Not a big deal. We're going to fix that very easily. So don't freak out if you poke a hole around the edge of that, scraping it off. Once we have that all cleaned up and that vent out, it's your choice. Whether you want to go and put butyl tape around the bottom of it, whether you want to put lap sealant around the bottom of it, or you want to put nothing around the bottom of it, as I do. When I install these vents, I do not caulk underneath the vents. You're going to make sure when you set this new vent into place, pay attention to how you take the old one out, and the new one should set into place just the same. My recommendation is if you have an extra person with you when you're setting this new vent into place, unless you get lucky and all the screw holes line up the same as what you have, then you scored. If they don't, what you want to do is go on downstairs back into the bathroom, have one person up top put the screw in it once you put it in place where you want it. You want to measure from the edge on the inside of each side, making sure it's square. Once it's square in there, you would have then the person up top put a screw in one side and put a screw in the opposite corner. That will lock that vent so it can't move. And then we can go back up there and finish screwing them back down. And yes, you can reuse the existing screws. There is absolutely nothing wrong with it. Okay. We're going to want to clean the EPDM around it. Now, I'm going to talk about eternabond because that's one of the products that the majority of us have always in our RV in case an accident occurs. And I have it as well. It happens. Everybody should have a roll of that in their RV. What you want to do is you want to measure on that vent 6 inches, and I would recommend using like sidewalk chalk. That's perfect. Sidewalk chalk. You want to measure from the inside edge up on the roof of that vent. You have that little flange right here that you see. Take a chalk, put a mark all the way around it. When we're done, it's going to look like a professional did it. Once we have that done, you're going to take, I would recommend, get a hold of some ethanol-free gasoline. RV techs are now just bowing their head going, I cannot believe he just said that. Ethanol-free gasoline. I do it especially if your roof is extremely dirty. You're going to get yourself a green scrubby like this and a rag. You don't want to go pouring it on the roof, but you want the rag wet so you can wipe it, and then I come back with the dry towel and clean it. There will be no smoking on a roof in the process of doing this work, or you very well are going to have a problem. Okay, so we're going to get everything cleaned up. Do not take your chalk marks off. That is your guide. We don't want to clean up anywhere beyond that. Then what we're going to do, primer. I believe that they make a TPO EPDM all-in-one primer today, and I will put a link to one down below. If I can't get you a link to it, I will send you over to my forums to where you can make a request and we'll figure out a way to get you some primer. With that primer, little green scrubby, and I'll scrub it with the cleaner. You want to get some heavy duty gloves. Um, like the dish pan hands for doing dishes, some of those real heavy gloves. That works quite well for this application. We want to make sure we have one hell of a good bond. Now, if you're going to be using eternabond, a primer is not required, but we need the deck absolutely clean, perfect. You will need a roller like this as well. We're going to talk about that more in just a second. Now, that application also is going to be whether you're doing a side run like you see me doing here, or the cap like you see me doing here, or the rear, which we're going to talk a little bit more about in a minute because they do a lot of errors on every RV. This is a horrible spot, and lots of problems occur back there, and we're going to end those. And I'm going to spend a little more time talking about that. So make sure everything is spotless, cleaned, primed. Keep in mind, the roof is sloped like this. So we always want to start on the low side. It's up to you if you want to start on the slope that's going towards the back of the RV because it's typically sloped to the rear and it's sloped off to the sides. It's up to you which way you want to go. It's a hand toss. But as a rule, the roof is sloped. We start on the slope sides first and then come across the high sides next. So we're going to stick down these eternabond strips like you see me doing here, except I'm using 6-inch uncured on my RV using EPDM. I'm doing a test. I wanted to see something. You're going to do the same thing. Start by the edge of your chalk line, stick it down, and start working it and rubbing it in real slowly as you peel the plastic. Do not peel all that plastic off and think you're going to set that in. You're going to make yourself a mess, and you're going to really have a job on getting that back up. Because once this stuff touches the deck now, it's going to be permanent. It is bonded, and it is bonded very, very well. The only way to get that back up at this point is going to be with a heat gun. Once we get that plastic peeled, as you see me doing here, and I'm slowly working it across, I'm not pressing down real hard, I'm just getting it laid into place. I'm going to come back with a wheel like this, a roller, and we want to start rolling from the middle to the right, from the middle to the left. Do not go from the far left rolling and pressing and working that product down all the way across. You always start in the middle and work out. That way it helps moves the product out, gets the air bubbles out. If you go to the inside and start working in, you're pushing the product to the end, and you're going to end up with a bubble and a problem. So always start from the middle of the strip and work your way out to the left and work your way out to the right. Do that on both sections. The next thing we're going to do now is because we're not ready to stick the next one down because the eternabond, we need to clean that top surface. We got to clean 6 inches away from the edge on each side. On all 4 corners now because we're going to be lapping over the existing eternabond that we just stuck down coming the other way on the 2 high sides, or maybe low and the other one's a high, whatever. You get what I'm getting at. The good news is we don't have to use gasoline with it, but we should use a little bit of cleaner on that. That's all we got to do is make sure it's clean. So we get a good bond to that. Again, we're going to take those strips now. We should start from the edge, peel the tape on it, and slowly roll it out. And we should end at the other edge of the eternabond on the outside end of it. If it starts to overhang, do not let it touch down. If it's going to lay down on your chalk, get your scissors and cut it. So that way it lays on top of the eternabond. I don't give a if it's only a ½ inch short of the edge, but we don't want it overhanging onto the chalk, which has never been cleaned, which has never been primed, and never been prepped. It's not going to stick very well. Folks, for the most part, you just watertighted a vent. It is that simple. And that vent's not going to need caulking anymore. But we are going to caulk it. If you're a diehard Rudy fan, whatever, then here's where you will use it. Once you're done rolling everything and you're pressing it all in and it's all set and sealed, then you're going to come around that outside edge like you see me doing right now, and I'm caulking it. I like to use polyurethane. Why? Versus lap sealant. One, polyurethane is guaranteed for 30 years. It's guaranteed against chipping. It's guaranteed against flaking. It's guaranteed against peeling. Everything that happens to lap sealant polyurethane is guaranteed against. UV rays don't affect it. Some of you RV techs are going, yes, here's the problem. When I go to redo and replace this roof, it's going to be a because I'm battling all this crap we just put on here, which are permanent products. And you are 100% correct. But if I replace that vent and I install it this way, and I go whatever 8 years and I've never had a water leak because of this, it was worth every penny. So what? It's going to take you an extra hour to get it loose, because what do you have to do? You're going to take a razor blade along the back wall of that vent and you're going to cut it where it meets the wall edge. You know, you're not going to cut through the plastic, just enough to cut through the membrane. On the outside edge where the polyurethane is, I don't worry about it. Leave that be. Because once I start heating that up with the heat gun and I'm able to start pulling that product up, there's no doubt it's going to take you 3 times longer to clean up and remove than what the lap sealant was. But it is 1,000 times more watertight. That is the way it should be done. In the manufactured commercial market, we actually do use lap sealant, commercial lap sealant, not this Rudy crap. The commercial lap sealant, like I have right here that I'm showing you, you can use that, and that typically is going to go probably 8 to 10 years before it starts cracking, where Rudy is done within the first couple of years and it's just a disaster. Or any of those RV lap sealants. It's not just Rudy. So I'm sorry if I'm just picking on that individual product. All of it is the same. I don't care if it's ProFlex. It's still by GSL. It's still the same. Okay? We're going to do the same process on all the vents. Now, when we come to do one of the roof vents that we see here, unscrew the top of it. Because it's circle, here's a trick. Before you clean all that off and get it prepped for the new one, what I like to do is I will use 2 6-inch pieces. One on this side, one on that side, and I'll have a circle cut, where Rudy is. Now, some people I've seen do this, do not remove Rudy. You don't have to remove the caulking. I should have stated that up front, and I haven't. I highly recommend it because it looks more professional when you're done. Let's jump to the back of the RV. I don't want to drag this on any longer because this is the other problem child. These stupid little wings that we have here. Number one cause to the majority of the wall rot, my word, am I getting tongue-tied? Wall rot that we have going down, the bubbling you see on the back of these RVs. Most of them occur from this stuff right here and along this edge. Because on the top side, you notice we pull the plastic up. Where's the screws? Right on the top, right? That's crazy. Then we cover it with a plastic strip. So when it rains, the water just runs right around the edge of this and gets in where the screws are. And look, the screws are all rusty because water leaks in there. Water gets in there. You can't prevent it. So what do? Like mine right here, that plastic strip did not go back on. I glued it right across the top with the membrane. Now when water comes across it from the front of the cab, it's rolling over that, over the top of the cap, and going down the sidewall. Nothing can get behind that wall flashing right here. How about the corners of the RV where that turn bar comes all the way up across the top and they have it about this long? Look at this. Most of the time when you pull the screws out right there, they're rotted because it's the same thing. Water gets down into that from the roof, and then it runs all the way down the sidewall, rots out all the 2x4 framing along the sidewall if it's a stick built, or it rots out the bottom plate because the water's running down the channel from that. Here's what I would recommend doing. I cut mine back so it's only about 3 inches long. And I bent that down and I pre-drilled a couple new holes in it. And then I screwed that down tight to the deck. You see? Just like you see me doing here. Now when I come across this with my 6-inch, because that's only 3 inches long, I have 3 inches beyond that. I'm not caulking the whole inside of this thing anymore. Now, there is areas that will need to be caulked, such as up on the front cap, and occasionally on backside. Look anywhere that water can potentially get up underneath it. I like to take, if it's a black roof, then I'm going to use black polyurethane. If it's white, I'm going to use white polyurethane. And I'm going to goop a bead in there and I'm going to press it out. I'm going to have gloves on and I'm going to just smooth that out so it looks really nice and clean and call it done. Can you see it from the ground? Barely. Is it as nice as what the RV manufacturer did? No, because they're using the plastic strip. It looks really cute, but cute doesn't stop water. Go to the front of the RV where I come across the top plate like you see me here on the fiberglass cover. Same thing on the ends, because that turn bar goes and curves down and goes over the edge of the cap. That's a problem area. So what do? Oh, I squirt some more polyurethane up in there and I squish that down. When it dries, and I clean it up and I smooth it out. When it dries, nothing's coming loose. I talked about the sidewalls, or along where the gutter runs are. What you'll want to do here is measure from the little lip on the bottom where this black plastic snap piece is at. You want to measure from that bottom edge all the way up across the top of the roof, 6.5, 7 inches, whatever you're comfortable with. Okay? And you're going to put a mark all the way down from one end of the RV to the other. Keep in mind, this is only 27 mil thick. That's all the thick that roof material is. And when we go into an RV park, most likely, if they have trees in it, the odds are you're going to have some branches hitting it. And if the branches are hitting it, you're going to get little holes in the side of it, such as mine had. That didn't come from me. I know better. But it punched holes all the way down the side run like Morse code. It was a disaster. But I had bigger issues. Otherwise, I would have just stripped it. So I had to replace my roof. But I still went and put the eternabond over the top of it. And that has nothing to do about water tightening, because I know, because the way I did, well, it does. On mine, you see here, you can see the screws behind the eternabond all the way down. I've got that all pressed in there and worked in there real well. So the water cannot hit that top lip where the manufacturers or the RV techs always put their caulking. You're going to slowly work it in. And then once you're done rolling it and sealing it, the same as you did with all your vents, the same exact process. Go back, put a bead of sealant right along the edge of that eternabond on the roof. I don't care about in the gutter. So by putting that eternabond on there, we more than doubled the thickness of that edge of that roof. Even my RV roof here, which is 45 mil thick EPDM, has eternabond on the edge. That way, the branches are smacking the eternabond if I hit any, and it's not going to puncture a hole through the roof. Now, if I go and hit a limb this big, well, I get what I got, because that was just crazy on my behalf that I wasn't paying attention and accidents occur. But under the normal branches that pop holes like I had in mine, that will never happen again. For the majority of us, these are expensive investments. We want to go RVing. We want to have fun. We want to enjoy it. We want to do these things without having issues. You want to ruin an RV trip? Go ahead and pull in a park and you're not aware of this, and you smack and rip a hole in your roof. Then you go try to get it fixed. And the RV tech is going to tell you that, nope, can't fix this. We got to replace the whole entire roof. That is the largest scam out there today. Also, if you're thinking about buying an RV, here's a video that's going to go across 15 key points that I look at and I test on my RVs. I did not do that on this one. And boy, did I get a can of worms. I got squirrels running around in the attic, destroyed all the ductwork. But that video is going to be right here. So if you follow through and you do these inspections and you don't actually hire an RV tech because you're as good as I am, that's your fault. Just as this one was my fault. With that said, God bless you all. Till next time, we'll see you real soon.